All right. Well, hi, hello, and welcome to Secure Your AWS Data Relational Databases to Infrastructure. Today's exciting webinar is sponsored by Rubrik and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is Jess Steinbuck. I'm with Actual Tech Media. If I haven't met you before, a big hi and hello. If I have met you before, then welcome back. I am excited to be your moderator for this conversation because hey, I think it's pretty cool when we get to narrow down our focus just a little bit and really get into something together. So today we're zooming in on AWS data, and specifically we are going to hear from a whole bunch of top experts on how you can simplify your backup and recovery and improve your monitoring of AWS workloads all on a single platform. So basically, today we're talking about optimization and cyber resilience, and that is a pretty exciting way to spend some time, am I right? So we are going to get out our expert speakers in just a moment, but I want to get through some quick housekeeping points to help you get the most out of your day here with us today. All right, so let's start by taking a little bit of a guided tour of your audience console. So walk through this with me, folks. You're going to take a look at your handouts and questions tabs. Let's start with that questions tab. Now, this is the best place to get involved, to get interactive, and post all of those questions that you have. We have a really exciting Q&A session planned with one of our speakers today when we wrap. So keep those questions coming in because we do want to make sure that we get a chance to dig into those. Give it a little test run right now. Make sure that your fingers are working, your keyboard's working, everything's locked and loaded and ready to go by just posting a little hi, say hello, greet the community out there. Tell us what you're up to today. We want to hear from you. Now, that questions window is also the place that you can let us know about any technical issues that come up. Knock on wood, of course, but if something does go a little wonky today, no problem. You just post a message right there in that questions tab. Our team will be there to help you out. However, I do want to remind you all that a browser refresh is going to get rid of any of those usual kind of tech gremlins. So try that browser refresh out, and if that doesn't work for you, shoot us a message, and we are on hand and ready to give you some support. All right, team. Now, not only does asking a question today make for some extra awesome conversations, it is also a fantastic way to win a prize. Today, we are offering a $50 Amazon gift card to the best question asked. Now, we're going to review all the questions asked after we wrap today. So even if your question does not get read out live in our Q&A session, don't worry because you are still entered to win. Now, on that note of prizes and winners, we also have a $250 Amazon gift card that we will be giving away at the end of our webinar. So stay tuned for that. Hang out till the end, and then we will go through that prize drawing. Now, all winners do need to be here live and present with us at the webinar today, but where else would you want to be? This is where the fun is. And all winners must meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. Now, if you're not sure what those terms and conditions are, no problem. Head on over to that handouts tab and you will find a full T's and C's linked for you there in the handouts tab. While you're exploring the handouts tab, why not take a look at some of the other awesome resources that are there for you? Great follow-ups and ways to kind of dig in a little bit more after we wrap up the webinar today. Definitely spend some time getting to know Rubrik a little bit more. There's some, as I said, some great resources for you. So make sure you've clicked around in the handouts tab. Make sure you said your highs and hellos. Make sure you're ready to ask those questions and win all those great prizes. And then you are all set for our day today. Speaking of which, I think it's about time we kicked things off. All right, well, as you can see from your screen here, we have an absolute superstar lineup of expert presenters here with us today. I'm so excited to hear from this crew. So we will be chatting with Bill Gerling, Manager Tech Go-to-Market at Rubrik, and Kev Johnson, Technical Marketing Architect at Rubrik, plus Sudhindra Shashadrivasan, Product Manager at Rubrik, Nate Brooks, Technology Services Manager at American Family Insurance, and bringing us home today, we get to chat with Raffaella Marticelli, Database Solutions Architect at Rubrik, who's going to be here to help us dig in, ask and answer some questions, and really explore a little bit of what we're hearing about from Bill, Kevin, Sudhindra, and Nate. So as I said, superstar lineup, lots to cover here today and lots to dig into. So, grab your coffee, get comfortable, kick back. I'm going to hand things on over to our experts. Kev, go ahead and take it away.
Welcome to this session on securing your AWS data. I'm Kev Johnson, and I'll be your host for the next 25 minutes or so. We'll be joined by Bill Gerling, Technology Go-to-Market Manager at Rubrik, Nate Brooks, Technology Services Manager at American Family Insurance, and Sudhindra Shestrivasan, Product Manager at Rubrik. Here's a quick preview of this session. We'll kick off with our special guest, Nate Brooks from American Family Insurance, one of our largest customers, to share their experience with securing their growing AWS environment. And then we'll have Sudhindra showcase Rubrik Security Cloud as used by our customers for protecting their AWS data. With that, let me pass it on to Bill.
Hey everybody, Bill Gerling back here again with y'all. I am a manager and cloud architect here at Rubrik. I work on a new product, tech go-to-market launch team, and I am joined by Nate Brooks. Nate is Technology Services Manager at American Family Insurance. Nate, if you don't mind, can you just give the audience a quick intro for yourself, a bit of your background, a bit of background on American Family and your role there?
Yeah, thanks for having me back. So, like I said earlier, I'm manager of a team that's responsible for services that span both public and private cloud. So if something should be running the same way across our environments, I work to establish services and practices around those things. So in this context, it's talking about Rubrik and how it's able to protect things across both those platforms. Today we have roughly 500 accounts in Amazon that we operate in a what I'll call very shift left manner. So we vend accounts to our developers and application teams so they can drive innovation and in a safe, secure manner in our ecosystem. We provide out of the box guardrails, networking, data protection, observability, and automation capabilities. So when they get in the environment, they can do what they need to operate efficiently in a secure way. In terms of other scale, we have, 15,000 S3 buckets, and we use pretty much every service that Amazon has in its ecosystem, which is daunting considering they have, hundreds of them. So it's a large challenge to say the least.
What were some of the challenges that y'all encountered when you adopted AWS at scale, specifically around data security or data protection? Like what issues did you have with regards to securing your infrastructure, securing your data, securing your applications as you adopted and scaled?
Yeah, I think the first thing we did was we ensure that everything that happens in our public cloud, especially in our production environments, has to go through code. We do not allow people to provision anything in our public cloud if it's not done through code. You want to deploy a server through the console, you can't do it. You have to go through code. Through code, we can scan and make sure that a tag is applied, right? So if we want to make sure that an agent is on a server, that a logging platform is hooked up, that maybe we need a Rubrik agent on it for something specific, or we want to put it in a specific SLA domain, we can control all of that and have observability of all that through code. So that's our first thing that we do to make sure that everything is secured. Secondly, we take a lot of time to make sure that our developers, like I said, understand what they're doing. And then we also have a lot of observability, especially through Rubrik, that will tell us if things are out of compliance. The other large issues we've dealt with scale have been with 500 accounts and hundreds of application teams. Each team needs to develop, or they were developing their own backup policies, right? Some replicate out of regions, some do not. Some back up every day, some back up every 4 hours. So what we did is we went to our privacy and digital resiliency teams and said, we need an enterprise risk policy that says, back up every this hours. So we translate those requirements into SLAs, and then we actually implemented tagging strategies for the developers. So we have the same policies across both public and private clouds implemented through code in an automated way.
Got it. Okay, so that makes complete sense. You adopted at scale. That scale was kind of problematic. The sort of automated nature of the cloud and things appearing out of nowhere or disappearing out of nowhere was a bit of a problem. And it looks like automation was kind of key to solving those issues, right? Not only automation in terms of how you might recover, but automation of the discovery of new assets, of the protection of new assets, even automation of the policies themselves so that you had standardized protection levels across all of your workloads. That kind of brings me to another question, which is, what were your requirements? Like you talked about wanting to standardize these policies so that there weren't one set of policies in account A, another set in B, C, D, ad nauseum out to, I think, 500 accounts you mentioned. What are your business requirements around data protection? Like, what do you define appropriate protection level for, say, a tier 1 or tier 0 versus a tier 3 or 4 or whatever?
Yeah, we work with our enterprise. We have a digital resiliency group, and they get their requirements from obligations and what we call our document retention schedules that are established through our local, state and local governments. Once those are established, we'll have to determine, and we create our SLA domains. We also follow what we call a 3-2-1 policy, which is we try and keep 3 copies of our data at 2 different locations and 1 different media site. So through all these requirements, again, rather than building individual policies in each cloud or in our data centers, within Amazon, again, we're able to create the policies, and then we use Rubrik's tag automation to actually, if it sees a tag of a server for a specific SLA that we've created, it puts it in that protection policy. And then across all of our accounts, we can see any server or any system in a tier 0 or lower tier environment, what their compliance is to a policy at any given time.
Got you. Okay. So basically you're standardizing on things like frequency, retention, where the data lives, how many copies of the data there are. And then to kind of put the icing on the cake, you're making sure that these protection levels are automatically applied to workloads as they're built, as opposed to having to be like explicitly assigned after the fact. That makes sense, especially in sort of like this sort of cloud paradigm where things scale on demand, and automatically you want to make sure that protection isn't something that you have to poll and enforce manually. Let's flip to the other side of the coin. When it comes to recovery, specifically in AWS at the scale that you're operating at, what do you consider like the essential characteristics or capabilities that need to be in place in order to ensure rapid and full recovery in your estate?
Sure. So when it comes to recovery and resiliency within Amazon, I think the biggest things we've found is native protection didn't lend itself to what we're used to in our private cloud, right? We're used to file level recovery the same way that we use it in our private cloud. So when we went to the public cloud, we realized that, volume level recovery was a little bit more difficult and not conducive to providing us that same level of functionality that we had already. So Rubrik's allowed us to have a very scalable file level recovery with out of region replication, which checks all our boxes for our SLAs, right? Again, we have the same SLAs across the platforms. So implementing those and then being able to grant file level recovery or database or lower level recovery on objects in the public cloud, the same way we have in our private, was very important. Again, it's the same self-service as well, which is nice for our developers, where we have development database teams, right? So a DBA now doesn't need to learn Amazon backup or Aurora or, pick another RDS platform, as well as SQL and Oracle backup technologies and recovery technologies. They can learn a single one and execute rather than having to remember all these different ways to recover data and all these different platforms.
Got it. Okay. So it sounds like there's a few things that are important to you. Sort of granular recoveries, that whole file level capability that you mentioned, a standardized operating process, regardless of which sort of service or widget you're interacting with in AWS, as well as the ability to delegate those operations down to end users without having to give them the keys to the whole castle. As a kind of a follow-on question here, I'd love to just ask a little bit more on the automation side of the house, because you had mentioned automation as something that's important to you. What sort of automated recovery workflows are important to you with regards to AWS workloads? Are you typically just restoring a single instance back into the same account and region that it went into, or do you have need for capabilities beyond that?
Yeah, I think when it comes to automated recovery and testing, this is something that we're really trying to advance and innovate on. So typically in an environment, you're required to prove that you can restore data for a type of data, right? A server, a storage, a database, or something like that. Typically that involves, opening a ticket, asking someone to restore the data, some DBA, then going and, just running some queries or checking that files are there. What we want to work on is we're exposing, Rubrik's GraphQL APIs and other automation tools and actually automating that process through our pipelines. So if I can automate a call to mount a database, run a SQL query, check its validity, and then tear it down, we can do that all through code. So what that means is it's quicker time to validate data for compliance and auditing purposes. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of it, and it provides us this kind of just scalable way to prove data is reliable and resilient and recoverable. So those are some things we're really excited to implement when it comes to recovery testing and resiliency as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Nate. We had a couple of announcements here during Forward on the AWS side of the house, S3 being one, Aurora being the other. What are your thoughts around the announcements? These workloads in general. Do you have a need to protect this stuff? And how do you feel about the announcements that we made today?
Yeah, I think the onboarding of the S3 storage with Amazon will be extremely important to us. We have a tremendous amount of data in S3 that we seek to protect, and it's not a simple thing to onboard, not in terms of cost or scale or efficiency. Object storage across the board has been routinely a very difficult thing to protect in a cost-effective manner. We don't want to have to copy bit by bit every single piece of data, which will increase our cloud cost exponentially, right? So some of the things that Rubrik's doing in terms of onboarding S3, doing replication between regions to adhere to other compliance of out-of-region replication, and then immutability has also been really important to those. So it really checks all the boxes for what we need to provide a resilient, infrastructure to protect our S3 object storage.
Awesome. Well, we're glad that you're excited about the capability, and we're excited to introduce it. We're about up on time here, but I thought I'd just give you the floor for another couple of minutes. Is there anything else that you'd like to add or to share with the audience before we wrap up here?
Yeah, I appreciate the time. It's been a great discussion. I think that if anyone's gathered anything, expose everything you can to automation. Do everything you can with automation and code. It'll make your lives a lot easier. Investigate what Rubrik can do in the public cloud in terms of its increasing ability to protect certain services like S3 and those object-based storages. And play around with automated compliance and automated recovery, because there's a lot of really cool things you can do there to make your lives and your leaders' lives easier when it comes to providing reports and those types of audit findings.
Awesome. Thank you, Nate. Thanks for being a customer. Thanks for joining us here on the session today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much, Nate.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, Nate, for all those valuable insights. Such an engaging discussion. Now let me invite Sudhindra to give us an interactive tour of Rubrik Security Cloud, solving for some of the challenges mentioned by Nate and Bill. Over to you, Sudhindra.
Hi, my name is Sudhindra. I'm one of the product managers here at Rubrik. What I'd like to do next is take you through Zafra Fashion Group's sample customer use case, wherein there's a very large environment, complex environment with about 500 AWS accounts, thousands of S3 buckets, and hundreds of Aurora instances, along with various other workloads in the AWS environment. We'll see how RSC protects all these resources. And we start to onboard them into the product. We first go to the settings room area where we add all the AWS accounts. We click on the button. We choose protection and RDS and S3 to begin with, where we are introducing. Now you have two options where if you want to onboard all of the accounts at once, you can do that by uploading a CSV file which has all the account information, or you can do one at a time if you are onboarding one or two or a small number of accounts. So we've already created a CSV file. Now we'll upload that file here. We'll upload the CSV and then we'll start the onboarding process. Right, so cloudaccounts.csv is the one we've started uploading, and now the system has recognized that there are 500 accounts which are trying to be onboarded into the product. And next we choose the regions. We select US East Ohio and US West Oregon. And now what we will do is finally onboard start the onboarding process. This involves a few things, wherein we first create a CloudFormation template for you, which will add all of the 500 accounts in one go. And this is done through a stack set. So what you need to do is download the CloudFormation template, log in into any AWS account, ensuring that both you and the account have the necessary permissions to execute stack sets, and then start the process. So you also have the ability to customize the stack set or the template as per your requirements or your policies, and you have full edit rights to do so. And you'll also be able to update certain parameters, certain permissions as per your policies with this template. Now you also have the additional ability to download this list as well. So now we'll go ahead and start the onboarding. So now we have onboarded all the 500 accounts into the product. As you can see, we've discovered around 12,000 S3 buckets and about 500 RDS databases. The next step is to start protecting these workloads. And for that, we start by creating an SLA domain. SLA domain, coming to the inventory, we'll start creating it, and we'll start it by selecting AWS S3 and RDS. For the frequency, we'll do one backup every day and retain the backup for 7 days. Next step, we'll also have the ability to specify continuous backups for both S3 and RDS and specify the retention for it as well. Now we've kept the retention to 15 days. For Aurora, AWS by default provides 1 day of continuous backup. Now one of the best things about continuous backup is that it gives you point-in-time recovery, so that you have a very small RPO, which is about 15 minutes. So this way you have you'll be able to recover quite fast and to a very quick point in time. Right, now we specify replication. You have the ability to replicate both cross-account and cross-region. So let's go with cross-account into account 1 and cross-region into US West. We'll retain the replicas for 4 days. And now you get a summary of the SLA domain. We've named it as RDS and S3 SLA, and a quick summary of all the configuration in the policy. Right, so we've created the SLA domain. Next step is to go into the inventory and apply this policy. So as you can see, we've now provided a single pane of glass wherein you see all the databases across all of your accounts, all the flavors of RDS listed in one single pane. It also covers all the regions in which it is present. Thereby, you have one complete viewpoint into your full deployment from an RDS standpoint. Let's go ahead and start protecting some of the databases which become the backend of the application which our customer has. To do that, we'll create something called a tag rule. A tag rule allows you to protect things dynamically, wherein even if you add new databases and new accounts, as long as those objects conform to that particular tag, they are automatically protected. The user does not need to come into the system to protect newly discovered databases. So that this approach gives you dynamic protection. So now we'll go and create a tag rule to protect all the databases which form the backend of the system which our customer has. Right, so we'll create a rule name, specify the appropriate tag, apply it to all accounts, and then choose the right SLA, which is the RDS and S3 SLA, which we just created. Now we'll go ahead and submit it so that looks like all the databases in this screen have got that particular tag, and now they've got the appropriate SLA domain associated with them. So thereby, all of these databases are now protected. Right, so what you just saw is that we were able to provide protection across all of your accounts through a single pane of glass. Now let's go into one of our customers' e-commerce portal, which is based on an Aurora backend and essentially provides a way for you to shop all of the various brands in their catalog. So this application is like a normal e-commerce portal where you are able to shop for all your clothes, all the items which you would want. And this is based on an Aurora database in the backend, which is running a cloud native application. As you can see, you're able to add various items, add to cart, and probably also check out at the end. A normal e-commerce website. Okay, looks like there is an error. There's corruption or some error. Let's see if it's a site-wide or there's a localized error. We'll try to go to the home page and see if it's site-wide. Yeah, it looks like it's a site-wide corruption or an issue. So what we'll do is try to recover this application through RSC. So what we'll do is we've selected the right database. We'll now go ahead and choose the nearest backup that's available. And now that's just 15 minutes out. So we have a 15-minute RPO. Now we'll appropriately name the new cluster which we want to create from the copy, the new database instance. And also select the availability zone, change the database class, and now next we select the VPC where it needs to be hosted, the subnet group, and we'll default the other items. And now we started the recovery. So right, so we'll go into the events screen where all of this can be monitored. So the job is queued right now, and it'll start. Yeah, the job is running now. What it does is it will start an export of the snapshot which was maintained, right? So we have successfully created the cluster and we successfully restored the full database. Now we'll go ahead and map the application in the backend. Also, just to see in the AWS console, now you can see the new exported or recovered database cluster, which is there in the same location as the source. Now let's see if the app is back online. Yeah, so we've successfully recovered the application of the customer. So yeah, looks like the app is back online. So what we saw today was a centralized management with a single pane of glass across all of your accounts, a quick and easy recovery flow to get your website up and running, and a demo of how easy it is to manage your deployment with RSC.
Thank you, Sudhindra, for that detailed demo. That brings us to the end of this session on securing your AWS data from infrastructure to relational databases. To learn more about all things AWS and cloud protection, check out our website and reach out to us anytime for more details. Thanks for watching.
Oh man, what a great conversation. Thank you so much to Bill, Kev, Sudhindra, and Nate for taking us through that, and especially that demo was really cool to see. And now we get to explore even further. We're going to dig in a little bit more because we have Raffaella Marticelli, Database Solutions Architect at Rubrik, who's here with us. Raffaella, thank you so much for coming to hang out with us and do some Q&A. You ready to dive in?
Yes, I'm ready. Thank you for having me.
All right, I love it. Let's do this. All right, so I wanted to start with this one here because, Rafael, I have to be honest, we get a lot of questions about air gapping and immutability, and this comes up all the time. So we have a question wondering if Rubrik can provide an air gap. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So first, a little explanation about what is air gap. So air gap is kind of like a basic recommendation from FBI to how to, I don't know, keep your data safe. And basically, the concept here is, in the simplest way possible, is have a separation between what is being backed up and the backup itself. So, for example, for AWS, that is what we saw in this demo, we like by default, all your data is being saved on Rubrik, on AWS bucket. So, for example, you have a backup, you have like a EC2 VM, you take a snapshot backup. Your backup is being saved in an S3 bucket in the same subscription. So that means there is no air gap there because there is like a clear connection between your environment and your backup. And Rubrik can provide this air gap. So basically, we could replicate this snapshot and send to another subscription, maybe the subscription even in another region, and would be like a clear separation between your backup and your environment.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I love that. I think that is, and thank you for taking that step back and kind of explaining a little bit, because I think it is sometimes something we hear about a lot, but don't actually get. Okay. A question here. I saw that Rubrik now provides S3 protection. So can I recover to a specific point in time?
Yeah, so S3 protection is kind of in the new, since the new release that we mentioned now. And we have kind of two different ways to backup. You can enable just, I don't know, normal backups, like snapshot backups, but you can also enable like continuous protection that takes you to, I don't know, exactly the point in time that you want to. And having said that, you can kind of choose recover like your whole bucket or a few objects. Anyway, in place restore or create a new bucket. So there is like a few options to recover. But yes, you can recover to a point in time.
That's nice, that customization, so you can make sure you're getting exactly what you need. Okay, so a lot of folks out there are choosing between different vendors. They're looking at different options for them, and there are some native backup options available, and also lots of other vendors, and it's just a big field, right? There's a lot of noise. So for somebody that's trying to make that decision and they're trying to find the right solution for them, what would you say is the biggest advantage or key unique, however you want to look at it, about using Rubrik?
Yeah, sure. So basically, like AWS protection has, you can protect everything with like AWS backups, like with native like backups. But of course, it's quite, I don't know, difficult to manage if you have, like the customer that just explained for us have like 500 subscriptions. So that is really tricky to manage on your own. So ideally, you need, someone to help with this management when you talk with this amount of subscriptions and objects and so on. So with Rubrik, you have that single pane of glass that you can see all your environments there. But of course, that doesn't involve just, I don't know, AWS. Like, of course, you can see everything on AWS, all the regions, and that is great. But most of the case, customers has like all like the providers. They don't have just Amazon. They have a bit of like Azure on like Microsoft. They have Google Cloud and so on. And also maybe they're like in stage of like migration environments. So they have stuff in on premise as well. So with Rubrik, you kind of can have like the same protection, the same interface to backup all of your environments. Like doesn't matter where they are. So I think that is like a good way to protect your environment. And of course, you have like I think have like a lot of cool features that we add on top, like the air gap that I explained, that guarantee like another level of protection. Immutability is another feature, and like that, there are like some other small things that the native protection don't have. I don't know, the fact that you can, I don't know, browse what your snapshot, you have like a snapshot backup of your VM, and you can browse there like what what you have inside there, and find a file and recover just that file. So yeah, there are like a lot of little nice features inside.
Yeah, that is really handy. Okay. What are the options to recover my EC2 instances?
Oh yes, so that there's a few options there. So basically, well, the main ones are you can overwrite your current instance, you can create a new instance, you can recover just a few files, as I just mentioned. Like you can browse like your snapshot and find what you want and download just those files. You also have like option to maybe ignore some disks on your VM. So maybe you have, I don't know, a database on that VM and you don't need to backup all the disks. You can kind of exclude them from your VM backup. You can do the opposite. You can maybe, I just need to backup, my EB2 EBS volume, and I can just protect the disk instead, and you can recover just the disk as well. So yeah, so basically anything.
I like I like a lot of these answers are just like, yeah, we can do that. That's that's great.
Yeah, it's nice when we can.
Yes, yeah, isn't that great when you get to give that answer? Yes, we got you. We've got that. Okay, well, on that note, can you back up Aurora database as well?
Yeah, so that was like a big request from our customers, because we start our protecting just RJS, and now we are protecting Aurora as well. So I happily say that now we do support Aurora, and like that is like one of the nicest, I don't know, features. The advantage of using Aurora with us is the incremental forever strategy. So the idea here is, if you protect Aurora with us, we kind of do like the first backups like a full, the other backups is incremental. So just we copy kind of the blocks that change from the previous snapshot. And that means in change, like the main advantage here to the customer is you're going to use less storage, less cache. So that is, save some money in change. So that is the idea.
Yeah, who doesn't like to save some money? And
Yeah, that is the main advantage, that everyone like it. So yes.
Especially if a lot of folks in the audience are always saying to us, how do I make this argument to my bosses? How do I bring this to the decision makers? And it's really nice when there's some easy ROIs and easy things you can point to about saving time, saving money, increasing your visibility. These are all really great points that make it an easy sell to the rest of your team, right?
Yeah, because like there's some, like in this case, this feature is like, yeah, save money, and there is some other occasions that yeah, sure, you want to use protection, but you need to pay a little more for that, because that you need to enable something else and you need to pay a little more. So it's just how it is. But yes, that is great when goes in your favor. Yes.
I want to ask this question. Matt actually just asked a question about the evolution that Rubrik goes through, and we were listening earlier, and the conversation kind of being, well, there's these new announcements, and you just said, okay, this was something we heard from our customers that they really wanted, Aurora, and so we've implemented that. So can you speak to us a little bit about the evolution, the changes that Rubrik is making, and in particular, what Matt was kind of wondering about is if there's anything that Rubrik is doing to evolve along with the changing face of AI and the threats that's now bringing up.
Yeah, okay. So like about the evolution, about the cloud protection, well, we like right now, like we're focused, like this presentation is focused on Amazon. So of course we start the protection with EC2, we expand to RGS, and also like now like new things like S3 and Aurora. We kind of, there's a lot of other products kind of that are in the roadmap that we plan to protect, and we prioritize based on our customer requests. Well,
nice.
Like the customers are requesting more. Like, yeah, we have like a close, contact with our customers. Well, that have the highest demand, we kind of prioritize that and try to work in that direction.
Yeah.
And of course, like Amazon is just one part of the cloud protection. We kind of do the same with Azure, for example. So with Azure, we also, protection of SQL, VMs, and manage instances, and have a lot of other database that are, I don't know, about to start the protection as well. Because again, a lot of customers are asking. So anyway, it's a bit difficult to stay on top of all the new technologies that are coming up on cloud because a lot of new database like platform as a service coming up. I don't know, every week has a new database coming up. So yeah, so we of course we don't support all of them, but we are kind of on top and see what has like a highest demand on that.
Well, and that's important.
Yes, sorry, yes, and yeah, I think I missed part of this answer, but I don't know if I answer everything. But
well, it sounds like you're sort of constantly looking for that evolution, and I think where Matt was really wondering is in the sense of security threats, that they're always evolving with AI. But what I'm hearing from you is that you are putting a constant eye towards that and listening to customers and being aware of those sorts of things as they come up. And
yeah, so like basically just to finish, like the
yeah,
part of like how we are evolving about the security threat in these backups. Of course, now we can provide air gap. We start to provide mutability not long ago. Like the idea is expand this to everything on cloud. That is kind of in process. We support for a few workloads, and like the idea here is once you have this snapshot protect in immutable bucket, for example, with us, we can analyze that snapshot and search for, maybe like ransomware attacks if something is different, like, I don't know, any alteration, like different like things going on in your data. I don't know. In general, we change, I don't know, 1 gig per day, and all of a sudden you change 1 terabyte. So that is out of, the scope and should be investigated. So there is a lot of things that can be investigated once the snapshot is protected and immutable storage. So we are going that direction. We already have just protection for some workloads,
yeah.
like investigating like ransomware attacking actually like before the attack itself instead of after.
Awesome. Okay, last question, and you've sort of hit on this a few times. You've mentioned immutability, but we did have some questions asking, do you provide immutability? Can you just speak to, because that has come up, it sounds like you do. Can you speak to what the immutability option is and what's available through Rubrik?
Yeah, so just like, again, really easy concept here. Immutability is the idea of no one can edit, change anything in your backup. So it seems quite, I don't know, straightforward. The advantage of having this is, so for example, if someone get the hand of your backup, they could, I don't know, encrypt, they could compromise your ability to recover. So sometimes you just think, yeah, sure, have a backup, like if something happened, I just recover. And you don't realize that if someone, attack your backup, you lost that availability and your system is down. So for these reasons, like important to have. And right now we have for EC2. So EC2 is like the VMs on Amazon. So you can choose to keep your backup on a immutable bucket. Again, it's like option. But yes, that is if you want that level of protection, and of course we recommend that. That is this option available.
Awesome. All right. Well, I wish we could keep going with this, Rafaela, because there's great questions coming in. There's obviously lots to dig into, but we are getting pretty close to the end of our time. So we're going to wrap up. But before we do, I always like to ask, and Ned beat me to it. Way to go, Ned. Ned is wondering, if somebody wants to get started with Rubrik, what would you recommend as the first step?
If you want to get started with Rubrik, that is, well, again, there is like a lot of like material online, depends of, I don't know, what type of workload you're thinking of. Because again, of course, this presentation is about Amazon workloads, but can be basically any type of database, any VM, any cloud provider. Anyway, think about something, we probably protect that. So there are a lot of documents online. But what I would recommend, like documents is a bit boring, sometimes just get a document and read. I prefer kind of test stuff on my own. I don't know, have a lab and test, and have some of these labs online. So anyway, have a look. Each product that has their own page, but the idea is there are like some labs that you can, like test some. You cannot test every feature in the lab online, but there is like a few options that you can see and see a proper demo and maybe test something in a lab. That is kind of my goal. Yeah, look online at, if you, of course, if you need to talk with someone, have a lot of like people on Rubrik that you can talk and ask for a demo and so on. But if you're just curious, as as an analyst that has managed your backups and so on and like to see the options, yes, that there are a lot of labs online that is quite cool.
That's I love your honesty, Rafaela. I think for some people, and we all know this, everybody sort of takes in information differently. For some people, reading the document is best. For me, I'm with you. I want to get my hands in it. I want to play around. I want either a demo or the opportunity to try it out. So, I think you got to know what works for you. And it sounds like there's options for everything, which is great. And actually, we have in our handouts tab right now, there's a link over to watch an on-demand webinar about becoming unstoppable, which I just love, and cybersecurity from Rubrik. So if you click on that into your handouts tab and open that window now, click on the Get Started with Rubrik link, open that up, and then you'll have that on-demand webinar waiting for you. So if the way you learn best is by being here and listening to cool speakers talk about cool things, that's a great way for you to go. And I think... Oh, Rafaela, are you? Oh, great. I just got, Rafaela sent me a note here that we missed a question. We did miss a question. Yes, we did. So let's sneak this one in. Okay. How is Rubrik protecting against exfiltration of data? Take it away.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So yes, because I did say for him that I would answer this live. So
yeah,
sorry
so we gotta do it. Sorry, Adam, I missed you.
Yeah, so basically, so first thing to mention here is everything on Rubrik has role-based access. So the idea is when you access the interface, each analyst would have access or should have access just to the information that they needed. So that kind of reduce access to the information for who should not have. But that is like a trick problem to solve, right? Because most of this infiltration data is, people that should have the access and, they just, someone get in with, I don't know, a valid login and so on. So there's a lot of managed from the own company to, create the right users and manage that, see if everyone has the right privilege and so on. Like Rubrik do like a part that provides the tool to do that. But of course, the company needs to kind of do their own part. But about like the AWS part of this, so if you wanna, I don't know, avoid your AWS data to be exfiltrated, you could, for example, archive this to your immutable backup and remove from your Amazon storage straight away. So that means you are keeping only a copy of your data in a immutable backup. And anyway, there is nothing on Amazon that can be copied and exfiltrated and so on. So that is kind of my best solution for now. But yes, that is a big problem to solve, to be fair.
Well, I'm glad we got that one in. And on that note, thanks to everyone who asked questions. We did get some great questions coming in. Now, I know that there were a few that we are not going to get to today. So if you do have questions kind of lingering and you want to sneak them in the last minute, please do feel free to add those into the list. We are going to make sure that all of the questions asked get sent to Rafaela and the Rubrik team. So you will get an answer back to those questions. And Rafaela, this has been so much fun chatting with you today. I really want to thank you for hanging out with us and digging into this the solution a little bit more.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. I really, really like it. I really appreciate it. So thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Okay, well, we'll hopefully see you again soon, Rafaela. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. Bye, guys.
All right, and to everyone out there who did ask a question or sent on a high five, I see that from Vinay. I also agree that Rubrik is a great product. I'm with you on that one. I want to thank all of you for being a part of the conversation today. And I know that you all are waiting for your rewards, but I'll remind you one more time to head on over to that handouts tab. Make sure you've got that link opened up before we close. And we are going to give away a $250 Amazon gift card. And this is going to Lena Costa from Georgia. Lena Costa from Georgia. You have won a $250 Amazon gift card. As always, we will follow up with you after we wrap, so stay tuned for that. All right, my friends. Well, with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to thank Rubrik once again for making this webinar possible, especially to our incredible panel of speakers, Bill, Kev, Sudhindra, and Nate, and especially to Rafaela for sticking around and answering some questions, exploring a little bit with our audience today. That was a lot of fun. And I hope has given you all a lot to think about. I know my brain is kind of buzzing. I'm ready. I'm hitting that like afternoon lull time. That's always a bit of a slow time for me. And now I've got all this cool stuff that I get to think about, which is, wake me right up, even better than coffee, right, folks? All right. Well, congratulations to our winners. Congrats to all of you for enjoying some great information. That's my gift to all of you this afternoon. I hope that we all get to speak again soon. I hope I get to see you on a webinar again in the near future. And until that happens, have an absolutely beautiful end to your day.